presentation of TFNN. The Tom O'Brien Show is produced every business day. Tom takes your phone calls toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Let's go to John in Orlando. John, what's going on, brother?
Good afternoon, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Yourself?
Good. I want to tell you, I've been listening to you since your radio days back in '99. Appreciate what you guys do. But what I really enjoy that you brought back Tim Ord. This guy is as smart as a whip.
I am so happy for that feedback.
Yeah, because he's one of a kind. He's got to be the number one market timer. I'm telling you, it's like he calls it really, really good.
He does. I really appreciate the feedback, man.
Yes.
Now, Tom O'Brien.
What's going on, everyone? This is Jacob Shoup filling in for Tom O'Brien. I hope you all had a great weekend. Of course, to get things out of the way first, we have a pretty large hurricane coming towards us. It's a Cat 5 right now. It's expected to be a Cat 3 at landfall. Still, that is nothing to bat an eye at. If you were in the area, obviously we just dealt with some things with Helene. Definitely make sure you're taking proper precautions, right? I know we have some tigers out there living in Sarasota, some of the Tampa Bay area. I was looking at AP right now. They have a possible 8 to 12 foot storm surge in Tampa Bay. Obviously, flash flooding, river flooding. If you live in St. Pete, we saw the flash flood we had here a few weeks ago. This is serious business. And this is coming from someone who is a lifelong Floridian. I have done Florida man things in hurricanes before, and this one definitely is something we should take precautions with. So I hope you all are doing so. And if you needed to evac, that you did, and we're wishing you all luck here with it. Let's take a look at what the market's going, what it has right now. So, yet on Friday, essentially, you had a little bit of a weird divergence with how the dollar and the equities are working. DXY is still pretty strong up on Friday. Excuse me, the indices were moving up as well. Usually what happens when the dollar goes higher, you get some of the selling pressure in the indices, especially when you have such a rapid movement like we saw in the dollar. It must have just been somewhat of a lag on it. The DXY kind of flat just right now as it is, but we're trading at 102.55. The Dow Jones Industrial is off about 1.06%. The composite itself is off about the same, trading below that 18,000 level that we closed out on Friday. And then obviously some of the big news, of course, is crude oil. You're also getting a switch in a lot of these larger traders. On Wall Street no longer being short, but potentially going long in crude. There was a lot of short out on crude, which is probably explains why there was such an attempt to try to get it a little bit lower here. But with things heating up really in the Levant, and they certainly are heating up, you could probably see this get pushed a little bit higher as well as it stands. I think in the past you've had a lot of vitriolic comments, obviously between these two powers. But I think it's a little bit weird with Biden saying, listen, we don't really control Israel. We don't, determine what they do or anything like that. So we'll see what happens. There was a rocket that was launched into Tel Aviv today. This, of course, is the anniversary of the attack last year. So we'll see what happens with that. If Israel decides to strike, and they said that they maintain the right to do it on our time, so on. Obviously, this can go a lot higher. We're speaking a little bit about that on Friday. You have the E-mini off about 0.9%. You have that gold contract trading off 0.27%. Still, we're relatively high, obviously off the top of 2,708. But at least in the domestic market, buying actual gold, Costco is selling out of it very quickly. We're waiting for China to kind of wake back up, get this supposed stimulus that they'll be having. And I want to say as well, if you're looking at investing in some Chinese companies, I'm sure there will probably be, some large pumps in it, but just be, cautious and understand that you're investing in a country that doesn't operate the same way as America does. That can be good in circumstances like this, but it can also be negative in other circumstances. You have copper trading off about 0.61%, trading at 450. Obviously went over the composite, but the NQs are off about 1.13%, and the Russell is now down as well at 1.2%. Silver trading off 1.52 at 31.90. Yeah, and essentially some of the stronger economic data that was coming out is kind of suggesting that we're not going to get these massive rate cuts by the end of the year, as people were saying. So I could see some issues with the Russell off that, and then kind of, honestly, some sell-off as well because of it, at least in the indices. Let's see. Apple is off today. We'll talk a little bit about what happened with them. I was looking at Lucid. They actually did all right, up about 2.4%. This is an interesting stock, and I'm not a big fan of the company itself. Obviously, I'm like a Rivian bro, but Lucid did well, at least with some of their deliveries. And it's so nice at this kind of level that you can get such small price movements and get really huge percentage gain with it as well. And then Steel Dynamics up about 1.24%, still in the upper trading range. Of course, on some lower volume, which can kind of indicate that we might be coming back down at some point soon here. Most likely going to test the 125 or 120 area as this kind of stock usually behaves. And then Tesla off about 3.19% ahead of that robo-taxi discussion. I want to look at HIMS real quick because we were discussing that the other day. Semaglutide was taken off Trapazitide, I believe it was. Trapazitide was taken off. This is Eli Lilly's off the FDA restriction list, or supply issue list. This sold off, but HIMS wasn't making Trapazitide drugs, compounding Trapazitide. They're doing semaglutide. I was saying at this moment, I actually did add some to my portfolio at this time, and I'm out of it now. But my point is like this was such a massive dip on news, in my opinion, that wasn't really accurate because the drug that they were compounding was still on the short list. They were able to compound it still. Even going forward with some kind of loss of being able to compound it in a broad sense, they're still maintaining the right, and there is legal precedent for them to continue compounding these GLP-1 drugs as long as they are personalized to an individual. I think the market kind of sensed that as well. We're trading up about 10.67% today at 19.45. So it's always important to look, especially when you get some massive dumps on news like that. Just make sure that the market is responding to accurate information. I don't believe they necessarily were on Thursday when we went over this. All right, let's talk a little bit about Apple and what's happening with them today. This is something we were also bringing up last week when I was filling in for Tom. Obviously, they had some issues with selling units, and one of the things that I was saying, like, it could have been a driver for them, but it didn't seem like it was fully fleshed out yet, was essentially AI capabilities, right? You saw a huge bump in consumer electronic companies with the addition of AI on laptops using Snapdragon. And I think some people were anticipating that to be the case with Apple phones as well, but it looks like it really isn't. And you actually did have an analyst from Jefferies say, again, that the serious AI on smartphones is about 2 years away. And so that downgrade is kind of what's affecting this a little bit. I mean, we're only off about 1.84% right now, still trading at 222, still obviously an extremely dominant company. And when this does get fleshed out, obviously you're going to get some massive movement in Apple. But they said essentially near-term expectations for iPhone 16 and 17 are too high, and this is kind of resulting in just a little bit of volatility to the downside today. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back with Steve Rhodes.
If you spend any time online researching trading techniques on how to begin your trading journey, you've no doubt come across many folks who push Forex trading as a way to make big money quickly. Unfortunately, there are equally as many stories of these so-called Forex professionals just looking to make a quick buck off aspiring traders without actually teaching the ins and outs of the Forex market. This is what sets Teddy Keckstad's The Tiger Forex Report off the riffraff. Every Monday, former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member and author Teddy Keckstad releases his Tiger Forex Report newsletter, where he dives into the complex world of Forex and takes time to actually teach you his methods that have made him so successful in the fast-paced and rewarding world of Forex trading. Furthermore, all subscribers receive access to archived live streams of Teddy's, where he provides university-level education to help you in Forex trading. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Forex awaits.
The stock market is a delicate, interconnecting web of commodities, equities, and trader psychology. When one string of the web is pulled, it has a ripple effect across the broader market. This is where opportunity lies. But how are you to gather all of this information into one cohesive model when you're already spending your energy looking for any possible trade opportunities? Luckily, you don't have to worry about that, as Tom O'Brien has brought all important market news to you in one single newsletter, Market Insights. Market Insights provides a daily overview of what's happening in the indexes, bonds, gold, and more. Follow along with Tom daily as he analyzes the components that affect the overall movement of the stock market, giving insight into how each one plays either a bullish or bearish role. Tom also analyzes specific equities that he believes has the potential to make huge returns, and his track record proves his analysis right. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Don't let the market leave you in the dust.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to most people. They think it's too volatile and risky. Most people aren't going to take the time to educate themselves on how to do it right. But you're not most people, are you? At TFNN, you'll get the guidance you need to refine your strategies and techniques to invest like a pro. Because you'll be a pro. All TFNN subscriptions, books, software, and courses are available at TFNN.com. And I'm even going to tell you how to get them for less. Use TFNN's Tiger Dollars and you'll get up to a 20% bonus on your purchase. And once you apply them to your account, Tiger Dollars are automatically used for all future or recurring charges. Tiger Dollars also never expire, are fully transferable, and are a great way to add savings to your newsletters or services. Become the investor you were born to be at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Jacob Shoup filling in for Tom O'Brien. This, of course, is the Tom O'Brien Show. So waiting on Steve Rhodes. We'll see if he's coming on today. He had baseball on the YouTube saying, I wonder, not sure how these storms is good for Florida real estate along the shorelines of West Florida. Yeah, that's actually something I've been thinking of as well. I think in part, for builders, I don't think people will leave the area, right? I mean, I think what was so nuts to see after Helen or Helene coming in was how the shoreline moved. I mean, this is how shorelines get established, right? In reality, it's not necessarily these, slow kind of creeps or like erosion or anything like that, to the opposite way. But it's massive events of nature like this, and we had these big excavators come through, and I mean the sand was waist deep, which is absolutely insane. I think people still live or are going to live on the coastline, but it goes two ways, right? I mean, in one sense, the flood insurance will be so cost prohibitive that only wealthier people will be able to live in the area. But then in that kind of context as well, do the wealthier people even want to live in that area, take that risk? Is there going to be kind of a change? You see in Miami, actually, some of the wealthier people moving away from the coastline more into central parts of Miami, which is kind of interesting. So I wonder if we see that on the coastline as well. So if there's any attempt to rebuild, which these homes are going to have to be rebuilt, especially the ones that took an 8-foot storm surge and stuff like that, I don't know how it goes. It's really interesting to kind of think about. But anyways, let's take a look here. Actually with Generac, this is kind of nuts. These are some interesting stocks to kind of look at when you're talking about, I mean, this season's been nuts, right? And it's not over yet. You have Generac blowing up on this kind of news, up 8.35% today. Of course, they make really high-end generators. I have some family members who have them, and they're fantastic. Obviously, this is all to do with Milton. So this is up at 173 right now. That's a 52-week high. I mean, you can see kind of the bump up here, then a really nice, kind of sideways movement up and down, and then we get a massive explosion. Companies like this, I think, especially if these storms kind of continue to hit wider portions of it, will continue to go up. And what I thought was interesting today as well on this level, and again, I want to talk about this in a sense, like what matters most is how the humans are impacted, right? I mean, at the end of the day, these things are kind of secondary, but it is interesting to see how some of these stocks move. And if you're in an area, you can, in some ways, kind of hedge certain things. But the insurance companies, were kind of cut down. You had Allstate, Travelers, Chubb, falling off 3%. Progressive, AIG declining at least 1%. Universal Insurance, which is a Fort Lauderdale company, that plunged 15%. And, you know, obviously you get major cash outflows at this point for these kind of companies. But the other way I think about it as well is that this is a relatively, you know, historic kind of event that we've been having, especially with Helen and now Milton coming in right afterwards. That's not traditionally what we see in these areas. Now, you have had in the past few years major hurricanes hit portions, right? Say the Big Bend or south of us, maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But they can raise their premiums, and these guys absolutely will raise their premiums in a major way. Of course, that pads them a little bit, but they have some pretty efficient ways of making more money on top of it with those premiums. And so I'll be watching a little bit to see if these insurance companies that stay in this area that are able to raise their premiums essentially, if they end up doing better at the end of the day because of it. And that's a weird thing to talk about, and I get it, but it is something kind of interesting to consider. So Generac, as it stands right now, great company, and their generators are fantastic, up about 8.85%. All right, let's see here. Talk a little bit about Pfizer, just some news going on with them. They have an activist investor, which is Starboard, took about a $1 billion stake in them, so we could discuss that a little bit. It's going to be from the Wall Street Journal, up about 2.19% today. And I wondered how this stock was going to kind of recover, especially with kind of the end of COVID in some capacity. But it seems like they're doing all right, up about 29 point. Give me a second. Let me see what this looks like on a 5-year. Yeah, so I mean, this is like at the height of COVID, so they've really eroded quite a bit. Sure, let me see here, even prior to that. I can't believe it's almost been 5 years since then, right? Yeah, so I mean, they're even below, you know, they're at a level that they were in 2013. So definitely kind of an embroiled stock here. So yeah, Starboard Value has taken a roughly $1 billion stake in Pfizer and wants a struggling drug maker to make changes to its performance around, according to people familiar with the matter. Pfizer had a market value about $162 billion as of Friday, trading at $165 billion right now. They are a little changed so far this year, compared with the 21% rise in the S&P 500. Definitely a major issue. Starboard has approached 2 former Pfizer executives to aid in its efforts, and they have expressed interest in helping the people familiar with the matter said. Interesting to see how they change this around. Let me see here. Yeah, so that was another thing. Pfizer had this weight loss pill that disappointed heavily, and that smacked them. It's been bidding a lot of its future on cancer drugs, wagering that they can bring up billions of dollars in new sales. It agreed to spend $43 billion last year on a deal to buy Sagan and its pioneering class of targeted cancer drugs, certainly the future. Pfizer said it expects the Sagan drugs, known as antibody drug conjugates, or ADCs, to generate $10 billion in annual sales by 2030. So this is kind of a stock in the moment that's seeking to kind of restructure itself, obviously in a major way. I never try to obviously I talk with Hims and I like Hims, but they're more of a distribution company as opposed to a drug company that's developing these kind of things. You know, on some kind of small tangent with this, since we don't have like a super long time, I was watching something, I think this was on 60 Minutes or something like that, but it's in this battle, to almost cure Alzheimer's, right? And they have a drug that works, right? And what the drug does, people with Alzheimer's have something called beta amyloid plaque in their brains, right? And obviously the presence of this is associated with symptoms from Alzheimer's, and doctors have noticed that when the beta amyloid plaque kind of deteriorates or in some way goes away, that the symptoms get better. So they've developed these drugs that are actually able to target the beta amyloid plaque and break it up. Now, what's super interesting is one of the problems you run into with it is that it can't pass the blood-brain barrier, so you don't get the full efficiency. Well, this one doctor, I believe he was in one of the Carolinas, he pioneered this technique where they essentially shoot sound waves at the individual's head that's about to go through this treatment, and it creates these small openings in the blood-brain barrier, and then they can administer this drug that obviously, again, attacks the beta amyloid plaque, and it actually has a super high efficiency rating, which is very, very neat. Obviously not much to do with stocks, but I think that's just some kind of interesting stuff since we're talking about everything with Pfizer as well. Let's talk a little bit about Boeing. They have some issues going. I mean, obviously we've been speaking about it, right, for months now. They have a strike looming in some sense. I can't believe this has a tick up here pretty recently. I mean, they failed pretty brutally with their space kind of foray, I suppose. You're going to have SpaceX getting those astronauts back. It ticked up. And then just the other day, you had 184 passengers and crew evacuated as a Ryanair Boeing plane catches fire on a runway. This is again terrible. And then Italy actually did some probes on 2 firms that Boeing were contracting essentially, and they were using cheap material in order to make more money. Using pure titanium instead of titanium alloys, substandard aluminum. I mean, this is crazy, massive failure and oversight by Boeing, and it just keeps getting worse for the company. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
The consistency you're looking for is closer than you think. 1 or 2 adjustments are usually all you need to change your equity curve from red to green and keep it there. Come join Larry Pesavento live to learn what separates the winners from the losers. Join Larry Pesavento on the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month for 3 hours of live trading from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time, where Larry will show you the market setting up and, most important of all, the state of mind of a winning trader. By watching Larry trade, you'll learn the Fibonacci levels, you'll learn how to apply A to B to C to D trading patterns, you'll learn trade management, pattern recognition, and much more. Join Larry October 11th and 25th for more live trading action. Your purchase goes towards 2 sessions, so make sure to sign up now so you don't miss a chance to sit next to Larry as he trades the market live. For all information and to reserve your spot today, go to the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
This portion of the Tom O'Brien Show is brought to you by Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the direction. Visit Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Jacob Shoup filling in for Tom O'Brien. This is the Tom O'Brien Show. Just take a look quickly at Lucid, up about 2.10% right now. basically during the quarter, which ended September 30th, Lucid produced about 1,805 vehicles and delivered 2,781. These numbers are up from the same period last year. They produced 1,550 and delivered only 1,457. So the stock is doing quite well. Actually, one of the largest growth sectors right now in America is going to be for renewable energy. Let me take a look in here. Okay, so this is the International Labor Organization. This is going to be in total, but it's happening in America in a major way. So in 2023 saw the largest ever increase in renewable energy jobs from 13.7 to 16.2 million, according to the newly released, this report is Renewable Energy and Jobs Annual Review. That's from IRENA. The 18% year-on-year leap reflects a strong growth of renewables generating capacity together with a continued expansion of equipment manufacturing. China leads this. This is going to happen even more so in the U.S. with all of the amount of money we're dumping in. I think what's really fantastic as well is I think regardless of who wins the presidency, you have both people here are wanting to push this kind of basically this movement, right? I mean, even with Elon Musk being there, I mean, you're looking at DJT today, right? I think that bumped up because Elon Musk is there. Let me see where we're at because we get sold off. Yeah, I mean, up 10.6%. Now, this stock just really only depends on news surrounding Trump, right? And mainly like if he's going to win or not. But with Elon being there and Elon kind of cozying up, obviously that's his entire thing, you know? And then you had Kamala Harris come out and say that she wants to start a national reserve for, you know, more specialized natural resources, which is huge. And so I think at these companies that are producing at this level, you know, they're hyper specialized in a way, right? They don't have to be like, you know, Toyota or Ford where they're trying to figure out the best ways to kind of transition over. If they can stay alive until a lot more money gets pumped in with these kind of renewables, I think you can see them really take off. I don't see too many Lucid in any capacity. I obviously see more Rivian. They're having their own issues as well, where I think they're just burning capital in a major way. And the CEO keeps selling shares, which is never necessarily good in any capacity. But it's important to keep your mind on this. And I say this in a way to like, it's easy to naysay this kind of stuff. And but I think the demand's going to be manufactured essentially, right? I want to pull over this thing because this is really interesting. I go on Wall Street Bets sometimes to see what people are saying, and this was getting just dogged the entire time. This is a day trader. He said he had made $306 million on Tesla and then lost it all, and he's basically suing RBC for negligence. This is a crazy story, okay? And this is something on a small, you know, kind of micro level. There was a stock, Jumia, okay? Jumia was touted as the Amazon of Africa, all these kind of things. I've spoken about this stock before and the issues that it runs into. So when I was really young, starting out trading, maybe like 19 or something like that, I got wind of Jumia. I bought in at like, I don't even know, I think it was like $28 or something like that, right? I rode it all the way up to $70 and I didn't sell. It's inexplicable. I mean, knowing everything I know now, like why not? And I ended up losing it all. And so I can kind of relate with this guy, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate as well when you're first learning out trading. You know, you just sell when you get the profit, and you got to be very, very strict with yourself too. You know, put in how much you think you want to make. You know, how much you're comfortable losing one. But then let's say it pops up 10%. You know, don't get greedy. Anyways, let's look at this a little bit just because it's kind of a crazy story on this kind of weird week that we have here. So this is a carpenter from Vancouver. He went on to be one of the hottest hot streaks in the history of financial markets, according to legal filing. At the end of 2019, his account with the brokerage division of the RBC was worth 88,000 Canadian. Within 2 years, he had turned it into 415 million. Some people would have cashed out. DeVolk didn't. And when Tesla stock fell in 2022, he lost it all, according to a lawsuit he filed this week with RBC Dominion Securities. The filing, which is an initial notice of claim that doesn't require evidence to be provided at this stage, didn't include the brokerage statements. DeVolk now claims that the advice he received, geared mainly towards minimizing taxes, was negligent and failed to take into account his level of financial sophistication. This is nuts. They had no immediate response. The only statement we can provide at this time is that we're committed to providing quality services to all of our clients in accordance with his professional emails. Really quite insane. let's see here. Some of the losses by borrowing $20 million from the corporation and using it to make shorter-term trades in his personal account. That strategy failed and his money was lost. He said in the complaint, when Tesla's shares saw even deeper declines in 2022, the Volks Corporation had to sell Tesla holdings to repay loans from a margin account it held with Royal Bank. He's seeking $25.5 million in charitable donations, further eroded by a significant chunk of his wealth. Wow, what a crazy story. Honestly, I would say from this, like, you're not dealing with $415 million, but on our level, like when we're these smaller kind of traders, we have our own accounts, there's not much we can do in terms of, we don't want to leverage ourselves or over leverage ourselves. Just sell when you get a good profit. You know what I mean? Quite a crazy story for the day, I thought. Let's talk a little bit about actually, you know what? We can talk some in Bitcoin. Okay, give me one moment here because I want to. Someone that I know actually brought this up to me recently. So you have Bitcoin. Okay, we're up about 0.7% today, right? Had some interesting fluctuations, trading at 63,126. There's some stuff that's a bit interesting to me on it. One, you're not seeing a ton of demand for it, meaning there's not a ton of inflows cash-wise going into Bitcoin currently. Another thing that I found a little bit interesting, this has to do more with like regulatory bodies and stuff like that, is what the IMF did. They were speaking with El Salvador. Now, if you're not familiar with what's going on in El Salvador, you have this new president in here. He's really turned it around quite a bit. The country was marred with gang violence, civil war with MS-13. This guy came in, fixed it a lot, and he actually has a lot of holdings in Bitcoin. And the IMF came out and said that it was asking the government of El Salvador, the first country in the world to declare Bitcoin legal tender, to, quote, limit governmental exposure to cryptocurrency, as well as narrow the scope of Bitcoin law. That in particular meaning not really allowing businesses to necessarily, utilize Bitcoin in such a major way. We have the recommend is narrowing the scope of the Bitcoin law, strengthening the regulatory framework and oversight of the Bitcoin ecosystem, and limiting public sector exposure to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is, really crypto in general, is kind of an interesting way for some of these developing countries to kind of get access to a larger market, and in some capacity you can make larger returns as well. So one of the major inflows I could have seen from it are these smaller countries kind of getting together and utilizing Bitcoin. If the IMF, which has a lot of influence over some of these countries and implementing certain austerity measures, says no, you might run into some issues with larger growth. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. For traders who crave risk, Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs provide opportunities to magnify short-term perspectives with up to 3 times a daily leverage, utilize bull and bear funds from both sides of the trade, and trade through rapidly changing markets. These are highly leveraged ETFs with daily resetting designed for short-term trading, not long-term investing. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the Direxion. For up-to-date pricing and performance, go to Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. a must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den, hosted at Discord. TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Tom O'Brien.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Jacob Shoup filling in for Tom O'Brien. This is the Tom O'Brien Show. Last long segment. I want to take a look here. We're not going to have Steve Rhodes on today. He is prepping for the hurricane. That is obviously relatively logical, but I still want to talk about just quickly what we usually talk about when he comes in. Now, he is the author of Mastering Probability newsletter. Again, fantastic newsletter. If you listened to me last week when I was interviewing him, the way that I kind of describe this is, kind of like the Admiral's briefing, right? I'm looking at it right now. Again, this is one of the things I love working here. And it is just so thorough. It's going over all the notes, certain kinds of currency, right? Different kind of topping patterns, really all you need to know that he goes through on his show, and it's just more in depth, which I really enjoy. So if you haven't tried it out yet, go ahead and do it. This is kind of the payment structure we got here, which are fantastic, really, for the value that you're getting. You get $149 for 1 month, you have $695 for 6 months at a 22.26% off, and then $11.95 for 1 year, which is a 33.17% saving. It is fantastic. Go ahead and check that out, and we'll have him on next week as well. We can get back here to my charts. Let's take a look at SMCI. We get some loading here. I think we're getting some internet throttling. This is super microcomputer. Some of the big noise that they've been making recently, which wasn't necessarily good, is that they just could not file their 10K. And it seems to me from the news that I'm getting is that still hasn't occurred at all, right? And this is what doesn't make any sense to me. So this is some pretty good movement to the upside. They obviously had the stock split, okay? Traded down kind of hard from that stock split, getting to a low really afterwards of $38.69, trading up at $48.792. And it blows my mind with the company whose financials are actually, I guess we don't know for right now, but the financials, which are pretty solid, considering this news that they just released, which was probably in a way to try to bump up the stock a little bit, is dealing with these issues, right? So what this is Supermicro basically announced that they're currently shipping over 100,000 GPUs per quarter, which is pretty nuts, okay? So they said it's a total IT solution provider. We all know this. I've spoken about it on here before. This complete solution, they have this whole integrated kind of system, and they obviously really specialize in their CDUs, which is the coolant distribution. This is pretty cutting edge for them. The complete solution reduces ongoing power costs and day zero hardware acquisition at data center cooling infrastructure costs. Supermicro continues, this is what they're saying, continues to innovate, delivering full data center plug-and-play rack scale liquid cooling solutions. This is nice if you're a smaller company trying to get in on this. You can buy from them, and it gets all set up in a major way. Supermicro's Ultraden server is a dual top bin CPU, 8 NVIDIA HGX GPUs, and 4U with liquid cooling. It's pretty interesting, but the idea that they're able to deploy 100,000 GPUs with this proprietary cooling system and all this gig here, and they still are having issues filing, still doesn't make me feel super comfortable about, the company. Again, I think their major moat here is that they have this cooling system, which no doubt is necessary, right? I mean, the amount of energy consumption that's going into some of these kind of racks is massive, and these seem to be doing the best at it. But if they're going to keep messing up like this, I still get suspect with the stock in a major way. And obviously, we're still split, but I mean, from a high post split here about like 122 all the way down to now 48.11. I still not out of the woods yet because they haven't said anything. It just blows my mind a little bit. Let's talk about Amazon a little bit since we're kind of talking about things in tech and the cloud. So essentially, Wells Fargo warns that the cloud strength is not enough. This is what's contributing essentially to a 3.28% downward movement today. They obviously fell pre-market on Monday following a rare analyst downgrade that cited concerns over margin trends in next year, which growth in the cloud computing business is unlikely to compensate for. Wells Fargo Securities cut the stock to equal weight from overweight, with analysts becoming one of the few, with this analyst in particular becoming one of the few who doesn't have a buy recommendation. The e-commerce and cloud computing giant fell 1.4% to 184 before the bell. The stock is up 23% this year, modestly outperforming 19% gains on the NASDAQ. There's limited visibility into the resumption of a positive estimate revisions till the company's July 2025 outlook, and the strength of Amazon Web Services cloud computing business, or AWS, on its own is not enough. Just something interesting to kind of keep in mind here. On Monday, Bloomberg Intelligence also wrote that the sales gains for AWS appear likely to accelerate 20% in 2025, roughly 200 basis points above consensus, with greater contribution from generative AI, while demand for non-AI discretionary IT spending stabilizes. And then additionally as well, you have a U.S. antitrust case against Amazon is going to move forward. See if there's anything important with that. Yeah, the FTC has accused the online retailer of using anti-competitive tactics to maintain dominance among online superstores and marketplaces. Amazon asked Chun to dismiss the case in December, saying the FTC has raised no evidence that it harms consumers, and the judge said that he cannot consider Amazon's claims that its actions benefited competition at the early stage in this case. I want to talk a little bit as well about, if I can get it up here, since we're staying in tech a little bit, and I want to talk about it. You have some major things. One, it came out, and this is from 2019. It's not affecting the stock now, but they are getting fined for it, and it's Meta. And they're restoring passwords in clear text. Again, this is why I talk to you guys about this kind of stuff, because this is like serious things that can impact us. What I'm about to bring up now is even more serious. You see what I mean? And so this is coming from CBS, and it's actually the water supplier American Water Works says its systems have been hacked. It's going to be a major issue for us. In the past, I think the greatest thing that happened was essentially a hacking of pipelines, right? So American Water Works, a supplier of drinking water and wastewater services to more than 14 million people, on Monday said that hackers breached its computer network and systems. The Camden, New Jersey-based utility became aware of the unauthorized activity on Thursday and took protective steps, including shutting down certain systems. American Water Works stated in a regulatory filing, the company does not believe its facilities or operations were impacted by the cybersecurity incident, but it is certainly unable to predict the full impact. The company said it has notified law enforcement is cooperating with them. Shares of the company were down about 2%. Obviously, these are main things, right? U.S. officials have recently become concerned about an alleged network of Chinese intelligence officers that are attempting to breach critical U.S. infrastructure networks such as water treatment facilities. And we sit in this really strange kind of position, right? Where America was one of the first to, really develop into the technical age. And that was great at that time. But the problem is that you start, as you advance more and more, you start creating this kind of weird patchwork of different systems. And sometimes these can be extremely vulnerable. This is why I look at some of these companies like Cisco or Juniper, even CrowdStrike to a certain extent, because when you start talking about stuff like this, right, where it's no longer, okay, one little company, Target, messed up, or Meta just stored things in clear text or in plain text, you start now talking about actual hits on infrastructure, you have a major problem. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
stock market is a delicate, interconnecting web of commodities, equities, and trader psychology. When one string of the web is pulled, it has a ripple effect across the broader market. This is where opportunity lies. But how are you to gather all of this information into one cohesive model when you're already spending your energy looking for any possible trade opportunities? Luckily, you don't have to worry about that, as Tom O'Brien has brought all important market news to you in one single newsletter, Market Insights. Market Insights provides a daily overview of what's happening in the indexes, bonds, gold, and more. Follow along with Tom daily as he analyzes the components that affect the overall movement of the stock market, giving insight into how each one plays either a bullish or bearish role. Tom also analyzes specific equities that he believes has the potential to make huge returns, and his track record proves his analysis right. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Don't let the market leave you in the dust.
In the world of trading, only a few names stand out like Larry Pesavento, a pro's pro with over 50 years of experience. Larry has seen it all. A former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member, Larry has authored 10 books and trained over 1,000 traders with his unmatched expertise. Introducing Fibonacci 24/7, Larry Pesavento's daily trading service that turns the complexity of markets into opportunities. Published every Sunday, receive a comprehensive report packed with detailed commentary, charts, and videos that illuminate the patterns shaping the markets, with updates throughout the week exclusively for subscribers. Whether through charts or videos, Larry's analysis is your roadmap to navigating the markets. You can sign up now at TFNN.com for just $97. And with all TFNN newsletters backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to risk. For all the details, visit TFNN.com. You'll find Fibonacci 24/7 right under the newsletters tab.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. A must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN. Educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Jacob Shoup filling in for Tom O'Brien. This is the Tom O'Brien Show. We only have a short segment here. I can wrap up a little bit more conversation on stuff going on in the cyber world. The NSA basically just released today. We're kind of alluding to it in the last thing we were discussing. But they're investigating if Chinese hackers had breached U.S. telecom firms. Of course, remember earlier this year you had a lot of disruptions. Verizon, AT&T, and nothing was really said on it. These companies are not required really to report if that kind of happens. I think it's a little bit different for telecom companies, but I think there needs to be greater kind of oversight with that. The NSA Director, General Timothy Haw, said that they're working with other government agencies to do some deep looks. They think it's a group called Salt Typhoon, which is actually a hacking group that Microsoft dubbed because they were dealing with them as well. It's very interesting. Essentially, they were able to access information from systems used by the feds for lawful wiretapping, which is really interesting. And that's kind of what that whole thing is. Remember that atrocity that happened in San Bernardino a few years ago? The FBI wanted Apple to essentially get in to that guy's phone, and Apple said they wouldn't do it because if you create a backdoor, anyone's going to exploit that backdoor. It then came about, I think last year, that it seemed like there was some kind of almost hardware backdoor into some of the chips that Apple was using, which in and of itself is crazy. Now, I bring these things up not to scare people, and I don't like doing that kind of stuff, and it's not the point of this, but as Americans, we vote, we make decisions about what our people should do who are in power, and we've got to be aware of this stuff. And additionally, if you are aware of this stuff, you can kind of see where money's going to flow. I think you have 4-star Air Force generals like Hall here, who's running this kind of division, being like, hey, we need to do something here. You're going to get a lot of money going into cybersecurity and things like Cisco, like CrowdStrike that have, CrowdStrike in particular, that have these like great, kind of kernel level systems. They're going to be dominant, Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Again, stay safe. I think we'll be on tomorrow. We'll keep you all posted on that kind of stuff. But regardless, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with Tommy O'Brien. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Building wealth.